Umar here, and today I have an exciting guest. Say hello to Allison.
Hello! I'm an excited guest.
She's
exciting
excited.
and excited.
Yeah,
and excitable.
I know, and I'm very excited about that because she's a parenting expert, and as most of you know, I am a huge parenting advocate. I talk about it all the time, even on platforms like LinkedIn, because again, most professionals who have children are parents. So that's obvious. But so I think it's relevant to those people, but also for everyone else that's listening in. So this is the Power Connection channel. We broadcast daily Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. And I'm excited to share this one today. It looks like I already saw the live feed, which is great. So if you're just joining in, please let us know kind of where you're coming in from. Are you watching from Asia, Africa, Europe, South America, North America? Let us know. And then, of course, you can certainly ask questions below. If you like what you're hearing, you can like, comment, heart. Like you can do all the kind of the like, comma, heart, light bulb, thinking face, whatever those things are. You can certainly do that. You can also tag people down below or share this on your own pages and tag them. The topic today is raising cooperative kids. Oh my God. Please help us. Help our kids cooperate. My God. So it's funny. I just Allison, I've known her for many years, and she's on television all the time, talk about parenting, and she's really great. And the first thing I did when she came here is I tried to brag about all the parenting things I did.
Oh, he didn't. No. That's not true. That is not true. He did not need to brag. I walked in and I said, "Oh my goodness, you guys are like the poster children or poster parents." They put so much energy into it. All their little work charts and schedules and family values. And,
well, they can see behind
you've done the good work.
So you can see behind you, right? There's the Team Umar family values, our team flag, and our roles of responsibility. So I have that. But yeah.
It's one thing to talk about it. It's another sit down with your kids and actually do it. And you guys have done it. And that's very impressive.
Yeah, I like parenting. I like being. I mean, in fact, it's funny. A couple years ago, someone asked me, as a coach, said, "What are you world class at, Bobby?" I said, "Well, I'm a world class speaker. I'm a world class hugger." And I was like, "I'm a world class parent, man. I feel really good about it."
Own that. That's awesome.
I've done good. I think so. Even though I fret every day, but that's normal. That's just parenting.
But I do just want to share. Not everybody likes parenting, and I understand that it is hard work, but the return on investment, the joy that you get as you watch your kids grow is second to none. But I have many people who really just outsource their kids. They're at school all day, they do extracurriculars all night, they go off to camp for 6 weeks, and they really don't know what to do with it. They really don't know what to do as a family because they haven't created any kind of family structure that holds it all together. So it really is an investment that you get. The payoff comes later, but if it's nothing but arguing and fighting and trying to get your kids out the door to be punctual, I can get why it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, okay, and let's say hello to people joining us. So Kusay from Kansas is here, Marcos is here from Aurora, Imran from Pakistan, Arshi from India. Kusay says, "Oh my God, this is a good topic. We all in this." Okay, good. I'm glad. Now, before we dive in further, I just got a couple of housekeeping things. I haven't been on LinkedIn Live lately, and there's been some challenges with the tech in terms of comments, but now I can see them. But moving forward now, I'm working on a partnership with Socialive, and I'm going to be doing these more often. I'm going to be doing more interviews. So if you know other experts and thought leaders that want to be part of this, definitely tag them below and have them join the conversation. I'll be probably doing these at least 3 times a week, if not 5 days a week. That's kind of my plan moving forward. Also, a couple things. I've launched a couple new programs. I've launched a 22 short video course on personal branding, so just to figure out your personal brand. I've launched a 7-day speaker confidence course, and of course, my speaker mastermind is always there. And the other thing is we're also doing the 10 tips, 10 days hashtag campaign, where people will share their 10 tips on anything. We encourage you to do videos. We usually say at least a minimum 30-second video, but if you want to do text, that's fine. All you gotta do is tag the founders, Kira Day, Lila Smith, Jake Jordan, and myself in each post. Use the hashtag 10 tips 10 days and put together a campaign, and you will start getting traction because we'll be promoting it. The community will be supporting it. It's amazing. I started one called 10 tips 10 days to become a thought leader in your field. I just posted day 2 on my company page. Day 1 was 3 days ago. You can check those out if you want. And I'm encouraging Allison to do the exact same thing.
Yes, I will do some parenting tips. I'm putting it together in my mind. Look for it soon.
Okay. It looks like Catherine's here. She's actually someone who's doing 10 tips, 10 days on fitness, so that's great. I already know her because she's doing this, right? Which is awesome. So So let's get right in. And again, we're going to talk about today raising cooperative kids. So I'd love you to ask questions on what are your challenges around kids. Ask Allison questions. She's expert. She's here to help you, and I'm here to help if I can and add my own 2 cents. But let's dive into, maybe what's the best way to start this conversation?
Well, so I think the important concept right from the get-go is to understand that when I say raise cooperative kids, I'm talking about a paradigm shift from how we mostly have culturally done this for generations and generations.
What, authoritative?
Which is...
You do what I say, it's my house.
And that really is about raising obedient children.
Right.
So, I know that some people think that, of course, I want obedient kids because I would like to be able to say, sit still in the restaurant, don't get down out of the table and bug the waitress. But in fact, I want well-behaved kids. I don't disagree with you there. I want well-behaved kids, but the motivation for sitting in the chair and brushing your teeth and being punctual to get out the door to school and all those other activities, I don't want my kids to be doing that because they are fearful of me.
Yes.
Because where's the heart and the relationship and the connection in that? And nor do I want them to do it because they feel that you're going to get something from it, right?
Yeah,
because
there's always that thing like, I'll give you screen time or I'll give you this toy, what if you do this kind of stuff? Yeah, that doesn't work.
That sets up an expectation for children that's like, I only do things if I get immediately rewarded for it. And why would I do something if you aren't going to give me a reward? I don't want to help you bring in the groceries. You don't pay me for
And now
that.
my daughter says, what's in it for me? So what do I get if I do this? And then you know what? It's your chore. You got to do this.
Yeah, the other thing with obedient kids is those children, well, first of all, they're at higher risk for predators, sexual predation, because they look for someone, shh, don't tell daddy, don't tell me we're going to play the tickle game. So I don't want to. In the teen years, parents are no longer the authority giving the instructions. They're more likely to succumb to peer pressure in adolescence. And worse, as we see going into the workplace, look at the future workplace. Look at the leadership work that you do. What qualities of humans are they looking for?
Yeah.
They're not looking for obedience anymore. This is not the industrial revolution.
People who can think for themselves and who can adapt and are flexible, have potential to grow, have a growth mindset. Yeah.
Creativity. You can't. Being obedient and creative, they don't go together.
Yeah.
Because you're waiting for instructions. When you say, open up and free your mind, you're like, I don't know, what's the data set that I'm supposed to be regurgitating back to you, right? So it's not even good priming for future work. Right. So that's a real challenge for parents because we really don't have a cultural history of what to do instead. So what's really ended up happening is a lot of parents have become laissez-faire.
Right.
And now kids are really ruling the roost and they're acting just as disrespectful. And everyone's saying, kids today have gone wild. Let's go back to the old way where we can rule with the iron fist. And I'm saying, no, that is not okay either. Right. So neither should we dominate our children, but neither should our children dominate us. So it's about finding that third option that's really unclear to parents if they don't spend some time learning about it.
Okay, so before we dive forward, there's already a question.
Okay,
so people are asking questions. If you have questions on parenting or raising cooperative kids or anything to do with parenting and your professional lives and find that balance and it's crazy, this is I get it. This is a perfect question by Catherine. Catherine Tanaka asks, would love to know how to support our kids through the hard transition with school starting. It seems very difficult for them to emotionally regulate. Great question.
Yeah. So the first thing I would do is our expectations.
Yeah.
We seem to think that kids should settle into school in a couple of days.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be settling your kids into school right up until the holiday in December. And then you're like, I got to start it all over again. It takes a long time to get the family routines going. Now, maybe the emotional regulation piece will come sooner, but in terms of kids really getting up, getting out the door, getting homework done, all that, new flow of the family, it takes a lot longer than we think. With the emotional regulation piece, I like Stuart Shanker's work. He's a Canadian here, and he's got a book called Self-Reg. If that's an issue with your family, pick it up. He's an expert in it, and it's a great book. But he kind of talks about bandwidth. It's like everything eats up some of our bandwidth.
Sure.
Our nervous system, whether that's additives in food, the fluorescent light bulbs coming down, the background noise, visual input from billboards, everything eats up our bandwidth.
Right.
And so for kids, it really is that whole, did they get a good night's sleep?
Yes. big.
Yeah, are they eating well? And most kids are eating like just way too much refined sugars and carbohydrates as part of their typical diet. Yeah. And good luck on the keto too, by the way. I brought you a keto snack.
I went below 230 today, so I originally started at 260, so now I'm 30 pounds down.
I brought you a keto peanut butter cup that I made. Did you? I'm leaving. I did. Congratulations! It's so awesome. Yeah. But so again, our kids need more protein, more fat in their diet. They're eating way too much sugar and carbs, and that's making them all jittery. And having the house be calm. There's only so much that they can take. The day at school is exhausting for children. Yeah. And when they come home, they need downtime. And what ends up happening is we don't give them downtime. We say, do your homework. Yeah. Work before
gymnastics.
Right.
Because I have the same. We have the same problem. Our kids are very scheduled. Yeah. So it becomes a bit of a challenge to give them that downtime. That's a good point.
They need to. The brain does really important things when it's doing nothing, and I don't think.
Is it better to have them come here and chill, or to send them to their aftercare program and just play there?
I think socializing with peers in a free play situation is one of the most emotionally exhausting things a kid can do. Okay. Free play is so hard for kids. Okay. It is much easier for a child to do something that has instructions. So here's the adult equivalent. Would you rather, and you're a social person, but other people watching, is it easier to go to a cocktail party where you don't know everybody or know anyone and you're like standing around trying to make small chat and figure out your connection? Or would you rather be on a volunteer committee where you have a meeting and you say, hey, we need 3 people to help with the school fair. Right. Okay, you do posters. People like structured tasks that have guidelines that they can follow. And in the backdrop, you socialize around it. So I think aftercare programs, they can be fun and whatever, but I think they take a lot more taxing energy out of a child than some kids
and depends on your child. Like my daughter is a social extrovert.
She could go.
She's fine. When my son, he's like, as long as he can do his thing, he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just a curious thing I was asking. Anything else, or I was going to add one more thing.
Well, I think the self-regulation comes with maturity. Okay. And I think I don't like with kids, self-regulation is like you get yourself in control. The truth is we're human beings and we co-regulate each other. Yeah. We need to help soothe people. Just like you have a hard day at work, don't you want your partner to give you a hug and offer you a cup of tea? Yeah, yeah. Then we say get it together and so we need to co-regulate. And sometimes teachers don't have skills around that. They don't get the training, and parents don't necessarily have the training. But we have to step up and help those kids too.
One thing I'll add is that we do is we plan for school well in advance. So we're talking about it, right? So we'll have 2 weeks earlier. Listen. School's coming up, what teacher are you looking forward to meeting? We start talking about it, get them excited about it. Yeah. Is there anything you need for, you want to get a new school bag or, things. So, Ryan got a new school bag, so she's excited about that. And get them pumped up and excited well before. I've learned, particularly Niall, who has trouble with social stuff, is that when we go to someone's house, we say, what expectations before. So he's ready for it as opposed to when we get there, dude, why aren't you saying hello to people? Yeah. Set expectations early. So we do that 1 to 2 weeks before school starts, and that way they're ready for it.
I think that's perfect.
No, not 3 months before.
You've got kids that are transferring, so they're, why are we still talking about this? I think 1 to 2 weeks is perfect.
Yeah, so that's what. So there are a ton of questions, which is crazy. Great. So I think we're just going to dive into all these questions. Yeah. This is crazy, all these questions. Okay, so one is... Kusei says, my biggest challenge is that we were raised differently and they just won't listen. But you gave a good point about how to deal daily. I want to address that. They just won't listen. Because I think every single parent struggles with that. I have too. I'll tell you what I did, which was I created this little sheet of it. You can't see it, but basically it's a sheet that says, we want to respect time, listening, and our anger actions. And I said the goals for us as a team, and I worked with them to always be on time, listen the first time, talk to each other, try to focus. No physical violence ever. Be angry respectfully and with space. Right? If you want to be angry, it's okay, but you have to give us space and time. But I put consequences. I said, look, here are the consequences that if you don't do it, they will escalate. So a few hours of screen time taken away, 30 minutes of extra chores, or even more escalated, 24 hours no screen time. And so I did that on purpose because they weren't listening. And so I set an expectation in this household for everybody, including us. When people don't listen, here are the consequences. And so we set that up, and that's what I did. And the thing is, it takes a while for them to train.
Yes.
That shift takes a while. And I was like, it's not going to happen, because Mariah said, Daddy, it's so hard to remember to not be angry and hit or yell or throw things. I'm like, yeah, I get that. It takes a while to train. Yeah. But like we need to keep that practice in mind. Eventually, practice makes permanent the skills.
Yeah. So, if we could let go of the romantic notion that it's really it will be so freeing. This will be so freeing. If we continue to think that when I say something, my kids should listen, and when they don't, they're being disrespectful, or when they don't, they are misbehaving, or when they don't, I'm being an ineffective parent, we get emotionally invested in that, and then we're not the best. Instead, if we could understand that children learn not from what you say, but from what you do, and our job as a parent is set limits and boundaries, and their job is to find them by testing. Okay. That's how they find them. So they're just doing their good work of being a kid. You're just doing your good work of being a parent. But if I say stop jumping on the couch and they don't stop, I don't take that personally. I go, oh, now I have to find a parenting tool and technique.
Right.
And I'm not going to resort to yelling and screaming because I know that is part of the old style. And I got to look for, I got to scratch my brain and think of what else to do. And to your point, consequences are brilliant. So what I would say though is the more you can sculpt the consequence to be related to their behavior, the better.
Yeah.
Because if the consequence isn't related, we call them logical consequences because they need to be logically linked. If they're not logically linked enough, the kids are just going to think you have more power over me and you're just trying to be mean to me. Whereas if it's logical, like if you don't wear your helmet on your bicycle, then you lose your bike privileges. Kids are going to go like, I get that.
Yeah, sure.
Even totally. At 6, I get that,
Yeah.
But if you say, if you don't wear a helmet on your bike, I'm not reading you bedtime stories.
Yeah.
You're just being mean to me.
And that's also punishing them. I mean, bedtime stories are good. I wouldn't want to take that away.
Right. So that's the trick, is to how do we make consequences that are not punitive? And that is an act of creativity on the parent's part. But for everything where they don't listen, you can ask the kid, what would be a good consequence if you don't, or you do X, Y, and Z, and they can contribute to creating the consequence. But keep saying, well, it's got to make sense. It's got to be logical. I don't want to be mean.
And so we struggle to come up with those 3 consequences. We're like, well, what is something that we could do and follow through on that we don't think is going to punish you? So we came up with those 3 that we thought would actually work.
So it's like, if you don't get your laundry in the laundry basket, you miss laundry day.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So, I mean, once you get on a roll, you'll start to see some good consequences. Okay. So I think, no, kids don't listen. We got to find a tool. Now, logical consequences is only one, but there's many.
Okay.
Use them a lot. They replace punishment, and there certainly ends nagging.
All right. So more, and again, if you're listening now, we're talking to Allison Shaffer, a parenting expert. If you like what you're hearing, like, heart, comment, clap, whatever. Comment below. Ask questions. Share us on your page. Tag people. Let's get people part of the conversation for the Power Connection channel. Zachariah says, this is great. Sasha Kumar says, is there a need to wean kids from digital space? Oh, man, I have so much to say there. But I'll let you go first. Is there a need to wean kids from the digital space? That's the question.
Right. So I would say many kids have had unrestricted access to digital devices. Yeah. And they probably now need to be reined back in. But I would by no means make a media plan for anyone's family, because you know best, your family, their ages, what they're using them for. I think that's part of the complication. When you have little kids, almost everything is education, like little apps that teach math drills or spelling.
Which I don't mind.
Like, right, those are good, right? Excellent. Or entertainment. Right. They're watching silly shows on YouTube or whatever. Right. And that doesn't need to fill our whole day. We have to think about balance. So I'm completely fine having screen time for the littlest of kids, because that's enough learning. That's enough watching entertainment. Let's go use our big muscles and, let's do family work around the house. But by the time you get to a teenager, if you try to put screen time as a limit, what would you eliminate? The fact that my kids do online banking, the fact that my kids go check the weather, they go on Google Docs because they're working on projects with other people. Right. It's just the device is an interaction. Yes, they're doing social media as well, but most of us have multiple devices. We have the iPad, and I went on a holiday with my girls. We all had 3 devices with us on holidays: a laptop, iPad, phone. So the idea of time, I don't think, is a construct that makes sense. I think it's about balance and using your technology in a way that adds to the betterment of your life and is not detractive from your life. So your attention, we're in the attention economy, and so it's very easy to start a game of Candy Crush and wake up 3 hours later and say, I'll never get those 3 hours of my life back. Yeah. So I think it's about creating a sense of agency that kids are not going into default attention mode and being conscious, positive users of their tech. And some kids need to have more education and more structure around that.
That's great. I totally agree with you. In fact, what I was going to say was that, when it came to television, and I was a television junkie, or when the advent of, iPods and things like that, and now with social media and tech, the idea, or even photography, like cameras, right? The key really is that these things exist, and we need to teach our kids to learn to use them responsibly and integrate them in their lives as a tool to better their lives, as you said.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the big piece. Now, the truth is, most kids, there's no child in the universe that will not want screen time. Like,
of course.
It's their number one thing they want.
And I would argue that in this day and age,
that and ice cream.
It would. I think it would be neglect if you didn't spend the time teaching it. Look at the world. Our job as parents is to prepare our kids for the world in which they are to enter.
Exactly.
Not to make them live in a bubble.
Yeah.
And if you don't do the training, and if you don't do the teaching, they are ill-equipped for that transition into the workplace and into adult relationships and how the world functions. So I really think you would be neglectful if you didn't. But again, you can't you wouldn't just drop your kid in the middle of Times Square and say, have a good time. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of time that has to go into training and supervision and all those lessons about your relationship with tech. And it's a lot.
And I sometimes will say, I'm actually really big on, because I'm a connection guy, I'm also big on disconnecting from tech.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it's a good exercise. Let's just disconnect from tech for 2 days and just see what happens. And it's actually a really good exercise. And I did it with my kids. I said, that's it. No more screen time, no more tech on weekends, which is when they would normally do it. And the first 3 weekends were absolute hell. It was awful. Yeah. It was awful. But by the fourth week, I got up. The kids were up, and Raya was doing some crafts. Now I was playing with blocks. I was like, oh my God, what is this? And it was amazing. Yeah. And I was like, when they say they're bored, they find stuff to do. And it was actually quite amazing. So. And
even as my kids, we would go camping and go completely off the grid. And now they seek it out. They actually, because they're experiential learners. They understand the value of it, right? They need to we've been so embedded in tech that we don't even remember what it feels like when we don't have it. And so giving them that experience, they will actually see, wow, this is fun and this is more relaxing.
Okay, more questions. Yeah. Catherine says, would also love to know how to give situation-appropriate consequences that aren't like the iron fist, but supportive, helping them understand boundaries. We talked about that, but maybe you can
if she can give me an example of something she wants a consequence for, I'll walk her through it.
Okay, let us know.
Give me an exact example.
Let's know an example of that one. Okay.
Yeah, they need to be related.
Another question. Their hyperactivity is draining my energy and time. How do I deal with it?
So it's an interesting...
Get a treadmill.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Well, so it's interesting because we're using the evaluation of hyperactivity about, there's like a box that we consider the right amount of activity. Okay. And you can get a diagnosis around, we don't like kids being that active. Sure. Or you can just be a parent who says, like I get a lot of parents who are exhausted when they come home. And, they got 3 sons and they rough and tumble and the kids are like, I worked all day. Be calm and quiet. Yeah. And it's like, I'm sorry, you got 3 kids that are, 6, 8, and 10, and they want to wrestle. Like, that's what you got. Yeah. So I think you have to parent the child that you got, not the child that you want. And some kids are more rambunctious. I mean, I'm an energetic person. I get it. I can be off-putting to people who want to be calm. So I think we have to figure out, again, this idea of cooperation. I need peace and calm. You want to burn some energy. How are we going to make that work out?
Right.
And so, to your point, maybe it's getting a trampoline in the backyard and letting those kids really burn out that energy. Yeah. Maybe it is putting them in swim lessons so that they burn off the rest of that energy before they come home at the end of the school day. Maybe it's actually saying, let's try doing some yoga to try to transition from the high energy of the day into something that's a little bit more calm. And in my house, it was like, or maybe mom and dad need to stop and get a coffee for half an hour and don't come home until you're ready to reset and leave your day behind you. Because it's not fair to come in and expect everybody else to change to your energy level. Wrap up your day and be fully present when you come home. That's on us too.
Yeah, another thing I do is I'll say, look, I'm going to give you 10 minutes. Let's just do something. Let's do it. Yeah. And I'll give them 10 minutes of everything. And we'll go crazy. Okay, the people go beep, beep, beep. Okay, All right, guys, I need to go zone out a bit, but that was fun. Thanks, guys.
I love this, man. So what's so great about this, what you just said is so important, because you're the connection guy.
Yeah.
We need to connect with our kids, but we can also be strategic about when we connect with our kids. When you pick your kids up at the schoolyard, or when they first walk in the door, when you see them at the end of the day, and you stop what you're doing and you say, you got 10 minutes, I am fully here for you, you are saying how important they are to you. Right. And so that 10 minutes could buy you the rest of the evening of them playing independently because you did that reconnection after being apart.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine coming home from being in Europe all summer and getting off a plane, and your partner picks you up at the airport and they're on their cell phone and they're like, just a sec. You're like, are you kidding me? You haven't seen me in 4 weeks. I just came back from Europe. That's what you got for me?
Yeah.
So that's what a school day is like for our kids.
Yeah.
In their mind, their event time, they haven't seen you in a long time, and they want to know you're excited to see them.
And that's actually something I've learned from parenting. I heard another parenting expert, something that... is it Alfie Kohn?
Alfie Kohn, love him.
Yeah, my wife loves him.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I started doing was in the morning routine, instead of, oh, guys, get up, breakfast, let's go change it, I would actually get into bed, and my kids would live on and snuggle and say, hey, morning, how are you? Do you have a nice sleep? Do you have any dreams? So, I would just snuggle with them for 5 minutes.
So nice.
5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes.
Front loading.
And then just saying, it was really great and so great to snuggle with you. I'm going to go get breakfast ready. Would you like breakfast? What do you want? Do you want some cereal? Okay. And, first thing what's the first thing you want to do? You want to change? You want to brush your teeth? I'll give them some options.
Yeah.
They say, I'll brush my teeth. Okay, fine. You go ahead and do that. I'll get breakfast ready. And I leave. And the same thing when they come home from school. I greet them, 20-second hugs, big hugs. So how was your day? Like 5-10 minutes of investing in what's going on, just so they know. And then I get back to my work usually. Because sometimes they come home early, like at 3 o'clock. Other days when they come in at 5:30, whatever, then I'm completely engaged. But again, there's that 5-10 minutes with them.
So let me give some theory as to why what you're doing is working so well. So we're talking about cooperation. If we want to win cooperation rather than force compliance and obedience, how are we going to do that? There's 2 criteria. One is that the kids have to feel connected. You have to feel an affiliation. You have to feel a tight bond in your family. That's all the team building stuff that we need to do.
Right.
And there's a feeling of connection, and then there's a feeling of mutual respect or social equality, meaning no one is one up or one down. When we start in the morning and you crawl into bed, you're reestablishing that affiliation, that connection, that bond. And then the way that you're introducing choices, you want to do this, you want to do that, you're not barking commands and directing them what to do. You're giving them choices. So you're not in a one up, one down. I'm the tyrant, you're the slave. Follow my calls. Yeah. And we give 200 compliance requests to a kid every day. They ignore 60% of them. But we're barking orders all day. And you didn't bark orders. So you achieved the 2 things. You had connection and you had mutual respect, social equality, and that's why kids move in line with the simple morning routine.
And just to be clear, I struggle, and I also do bark orders, and it's not like it's always it's not a lot fantastic all the time.
None of us are perfect.
But there are things that I've done that I think have been working. So
I'm not perfect either.
More questions. Again, I'm with Allison Shaffer, parenting expert, raising cooperative kids. Ask your questions away. This is really great. Good morning to everybody who's listening to us. Any tips for kids with ASD, or maybe you mean
autism spectrum on the spectrum?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So autism is a spectrum disorder. So, depending on where you are, you could have high functioning kids that you and I would not even know were struggling with autism. And then you have people completely nonverbal at the other end.
Sure.
And so I don't know exactly where these people are, but what I would say is they have difficulty connecting. That's one of the main criteria for saying that you have autism. Yeah. What I would say for parents is you need to we need to connect with them, but rather than us having our own outside here world perspective and trying to get them to come into it, switch it around.
Yeah.
Go into their world. So there's a wonderful story of a kid playing with these little cars, and he was just running the cars all around the playroom wall. And the mom just picked up a car behind him and started running behind him.
Right.
They were playing together. That was co-play in his version of co-play.
Yeah.
So try to just join into whatever they're doing is a form of connecting with those kids.
I love that. It reminds me of something when back in the day when I was a camp counselor. I would always tell, and I would train the other counselors. I said, look, the key to doing well with kids is you need to be able to speak at their level and get up to their level. And I said up because they're at a higher level than we are, because we're just these counselors. They have their own. They're the master of the universe. You need to get in there.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Be curious. Yeah.
Ronald says hi from Bangladesh. Catherine says thanks, guys. Subala says, let's see, my eldest has all his high school work on an iPad now. He has no books at all, so everything's digital. Working, learning, entertainment. It's a physical job, martial arts after school. So though he's chosen his own balance. Okay, that's good.
That's good. We want them to choose their own balance. You're not going to go to university with them. You're not going to be there to take away their iPad when they go to bed at night. Sure. Like, now's the time to learn that self-control.
Absolutely. My least favorite part is meltdowns and tantrums in public. Ah, yes.
Notice they're in public.
Yes.
So I say that because my training is in Adlerian psychology, and one of the main differentiators from an Adlerian perspective and understanding kids' behavior is that he believed behavior was goal directed. They were trying to accomplish something, which is very different than Freud, who thought it was drive driven. So I'm going to answer your question, but just to get the premise here. So if there's a dog with an empty food bowl and the dog is barking, Freud would have said his food drive was causing him to bark. And Adler would have said, no, he's barking because he knows you're going to get the kibble bag and put it in the bowl. Okay. He's trying to make something happen. So we look at what's the usefulness of behavior? What's the utility? What's the child's goal? And what kids learn is that if I melt down in public, you'll get embarrassed and I'll likely get what I want.
Right.
Because at home we're not so embarrassed.
Yeah.
So we stick to it. So if you're a kid and you want a chocolate bar, that's your goal. I want to get a chocolate bar.
Right.
How do I get a chocolate bar in my family? The only way I've learned so far is to melt down on the ground and embarrass you until you go like, okay, fine, I'll get you a chocolate bar. What kid isn't going to do that again? They learn experientially.
Right.
So what I would say is if we can understand the child's goal, then we can help them either not reach the goal. If they keep melting down and they never get the chocolate bar, they're not going to waste that much energy. They're going to go, you know what, I did it 4 times, I'll never get a chocolate bar, I'm done with that. So either don't let them reach their goal or help them. I think this is more importantly, show them how to reach their goals through constructive means. So, when they're upset.
But in the moment though, they don't want to do that. Is that
no, I think once we say it's like, a tantrum is literally your brain, the Daniel Siegel stuff talks about your brain in the palm of your hand. Yeah. Your executive functioning in this part of your brain literally pops offline. You know, say blow your top?
Sure.
There's no executive functioning with the kid who's having a tantrum. So I would not be getting into having a big family meeting right now. Yeah. I would probably just rub their back and say, I see you're disappointed. You really wanted a chocolate bar and mommy's not giving it to you. And then later I would say, we seem to be having a reoccurring problem with chocolate bars and how to get them in our house. We need to come up with a better system. So this is where rather logical consequences are great, but I would like to move families more quickly to problem solving. Okay. Problem solving is not my kids misbehaving. It's we have something in the family that's not working. How can we go about it better? So you want to have more control over chocolate access. Is it time to put you on an allowance? Right. Is it time to say you can have 3 chocolates a week and I don't care when you get them, here's a little chocolate chit and you can cash it in. Something that gives them more agency, control, say, and a way to get their needs met other than just all I know how to do is when I want something, I buckle down and give you bad behavior.
Right. Okay. And for me, like what I've done is I basically either I'll rub their back and try to calm them down.
Yeah,
but if it's extremely distracting the situation, I will pick them up and exit.
Yeah.
And then say we need to leave because but I want to talk to you and then talk to them and get them to calm down. But definitely don't give them what they want.
No, but I like your idea. If you're at a restaurant, you're we need to calm down or we need to leave the restaurant.
Yeah, you need to exit.
Choice. Looks like we need to exit. Yeah, but at a park. Whatever.
Yeah,
you're not disturbing people.
Let's see. Okay, so now we don't have as many questions. Okay, so again, we're talking about raising cooperative kids. If you have questions, I'm here with Allison Shaffer, parenting expert. Maybe I'm going to ask. Let me ask some questions. So, so your kids are now fully functional adults. Is that right?
I'd like to think so. Yes, they are. 24 and 25, finished university and employed. I think that's a great win for a parent.
Going back. What were you doing wrong at first?
Oh, I had many things.
No, I know, but what's one thing that you're like, man, I probably could have done this better?
What could I have done better? I would fall into the same category of overdoing for my kids. So I had a daughter who had witnessed a medical emergency when we were walking to school, and she developed panic attacks.
Okay.
So then she had to, thank goodness I'm in the profession, so I did get her some counseling. Okay. But any of you who have ever had to deal with anxiety, either your kids or your own, and it often runs in families, there's a genetic component and then a learned component. when you see your child so emotionally distraught, it's so hard to see them suffer.
Your heart.
It's so hard. So there's many other ways I was totally fine at letting my kids suffer. Don't get me wrong. But that for me, like once I recognized that was my soft spot, that was the thing that I knew that I was just gonna like overparent around, overfunction around. I was sort of like, that's gonna be me. But I'll give myself a pass because I do that okay and I do that okay. But like, all right, so we're all allowed to have that weakness. You were talking about your kids and eating. There's some people who are like, if that's your thing is food, like you're gonna parent differently around it because it's a high value to you, and other stuff you won't. So all of us get like a pass on something that's our like thing.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of a story that when my son was in grade 2, I found out he was being bullied by. Actually, it was interesting. He was being bullied by 2 girls in his same group. And then another older boy on the playground, and we didn't know about it for it was going on for a couple of months. And because he's so keeps it close to his heart, he doesn't talk very much about that stuff. When I found out, I was just like absolutely so upset because like I can't believe he's been suffering for so long and he hasn't even come to daddy to talk about it. And I just went in to like try and take care of it. Went to school and we dealt with it, but like it was so hard to like hear that this was going on.
Yeah, we only want good things for our kids. I know.
So
and I went to an annual conference that falls on the same week every year, which falls on my daughter's birthday. So I missed every one of my daughter's birthday.
Okay.
That's my guilt. But then I
says,
took her to the conference one year. So there you go. I did. She
now, Kusei says, my youngest is obsessed about pumpkins, like 365 days a year. And it's getting expensive. I thought it's a phase, but now we're closing 3 years of Halloween festivities every day. Okay.
That's weird. That's funny there one. You go. So this speaks to the quirkiness of kids. I think when we're talking about using the frame of cooperation, we're all different. We all got our things. There's a lot of women who have like 300 pairs of black shoes, right? Yeah. Some kids have 300 Beanie Babies, whatever, right? Yeah. Everyone has their little way that they're going to fall into some quirky little niche. Fantastic. The question becomes, does my quiet enjoyment of my life impinge on your... Am I putting demands on the group in order for my quirk to happen?
Yeah.
And so pumpkin it out all you want, but not if it's costing the parents all this money, not if they're demanding that you take them to the store to buy another little pumpkin thing. It's the same with invisible friends. I'm quite happy for you to have an invisible friend, but I am not willing for the invisible friend to take up a seat in the car and now we can't take somebody else with us because your invisible friend is there. It's like your invisible friend is going to have to sit on your lap. We need to let somebody else into the car. So it's about having that passion not impede. It's just limits and boundaries. But otherwise, great. Enjoy. Take pictures. I'm sure someday she'll look back and go, I was the pumpkin kid.
Right. And if anybody else has any other questions, you certainly can ask Allison here. Why don't we talk a bit about your books? Let's promote your books.
Oh, I did bring. Quite proud of my books, actually.
I'll hold them. So
yeah, sure.
Breaking the Good Mom Myth.
Also for dads.
Okay, what's that about?
But that's about perfectionism. This is a more overarching. This is the culture of parenting, how we're so hard on ourselves. And I wrote it because the publisher asked me, what do people come with you as their pain points? And I said, these are the most common mistakes. When I say mistake, I mean misunderstandings. So it's like, I think I'm going to be a good mother by doing this. And then I have to explain to them, do you know actually the psychological background of that means you're not? Right. If you understood what you were doing as being not so great for your kids, you wouldn't want to do it anymore. So things like leaving our marriage to go fallow.
Right. Yes.
Right? So they're
because
like,
when the kids leave, you still have the marriage, right? So
you hope. Well, you won't if you let it go fallow for 18 years.
The marriage is actually a primary thing you have to take care of.
And your kids' number one learning experience of how people cooperate and how they do
is watching us.
Is watching you. Yeah, totally. Why would you not want to model that? That's the most important skill I think you can give a kid.
Yeah.
So that's what that book's about.
Then we have Honey, I Wrecked the Kids. That's a great title.
That's again the pain point. How many of us have said, "Oh, you know
That's how I feel. I feel this every day. I think I'm a good parent, but I still feel this every day."
You want to open the bank account for the psychological services later because we've all lost our mind on our kids.
Like when I think of my son and how fussy eaters, it's funny because my mother and father are loving it because I was a fussy eater and he's worse and see, we told you, young man, what's going to happen to you. And
comeuppance.
Yeah, they know this, and so I feel like, man, he just doesn't touching anything, and it's like, yeah, I feel that way.
So this is all about misbehavior. The goal-directed behavior I talked about.
Yeah.
There's 4 goals under the age of 10 for kids' misbehavior: attention, power, revenge, and avoidance. And I go into that, understanding it, and the tools to go with each of those goals.
Finally,
so that's really about discipline.
They're finally ain't misbehaving.
So this is for people who don't have time to read and they just like this broadcast and they just want the answers. So really, it's I took this from all the questions people ask me at the end of my talks or through my blog. The most common questions, I broke them into. So basically, I just say why they do it and what you should do. So you just look up your problem in the index and go to the solution. You don't have to read it page by page.
How long does it take you to write these books? Like, seriously, that's 3. That's a lot.
Thank you. And I need to get my energy back up to write another one. Yeah, it takes a long time to write a book, especially if you're working as well, right?
Yeah, like I wrote a book, and man, it took like a year. It was like a lot.
I was going to say about 18 months to write a book.
Oh,
so I know I have to hunker down. If you have ideas for my next book, please type it in. Okay. I'm noodling around about 3 or 4.
We got another question. Please explain why kids like sugar so much. Well, I'll start. Sugar's addictive. That's true. So as soon as they have a bit of it, they'll want more, and they'll want more and more. So if you can get them off that addiction and teach them integration and proper use of nutrition, like I teach my kids labels.
Yeah.
So even when they were like 4 and 6 years old, I said, here are the labels. Here's how much sugar is in a waffle, in cereal, and milk, and kids need about 25 grams sugar per day max. And so how much you're having, and I told them, and now they read the labels. They talk about sodium, and so I empowered them way back then to think about those things.
Yeah, and from a biological perspective, sugar sets off the dopamine reward circuitry in your brain so that it's pleasurable, so that you'll go back and get something that at the time when we were foraging for food and had to spend 80% of our waking hours looking for the next meal, if you got something that was fat or sugar that was a high calorie return for survival, it was like ding, 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 go eat more of that. That's good. You're onto something here. Right. But now we live in food everywhere, and this isn't a problem anymore, but we still have the biological heritage.
And the other challenge too is that I'm a huge, I get really upset, I rant about sugar because sugar is everywhere. It's at birthday parties, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, at school, even the school's aftercare program on Fridays we give them a lollipop. The dentist, the doctors, lollipops,
I know, right?
The haircut,
yeah.
It's everywhere. It's like, oh my god! And like my son has Halloween candy from 2 years ago. He's like, he brags about it. It's like, you're never going to eat it, but like it's just everywhere. So
and it's for kids, to your point, it's everywhere forever. But we seem to think that we want to make kids happy, and so we feed them this diet that we would never think is acceptable as an adult. All we end up having to do is shit. Like, I mean, I think about dessert. As an adult, who has dessert 7 days a week? Yeah. And then you have a baby who becomes a toddler, and suddenly you're having ice cream at the end of every meal. Like, why? Why did we suddenly add dessert when we? And the French don't do this. There's a great book called Bringing Up Bébé, and I love you for such a multicultural crowd. And I actually speak around the world. And my books are in Turkish and Bulgarian and Korean, and you can look up on my website if you want a different language. But this is a very North American thing.
Right.
Like in France, they don't give their kids snacks. They're like, you'll make it from lunch, and you have your brie and olives.
Right.
They don't have all that. They don't do all this kiddie version food. They just assume kids will eat what the adults are eating. Yes, we're having salmon and lentils. They don't have a kiddie menu the way we have kiddie menus everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, we didn't. I'm not sure we answered Catherine's question before. So remember how she wanted a specific example? She didn't give one. But is there any way we can answer this one? Like,
did she give one?
No, she didn't. How to give situation appropriate consequences that aren't like the iron fist, but supportive, helping them understand boundaries.
All right. So I will say a little bit more about consequences.
Sure.
So to make a good consequence, you have to. So we've already talked about it being related.
Yeah.
Right. That's what makes it logical. It needs to be revealed in advance. A lot of parents will say, do the consequence after.
Yeah.
You know what? You were so rude to me this morning. We are not going bowling on the weekend.
No, in the future, the kid's
like, I didn't know that was on the line.
Yeah.
And so think about that from an adult.
I didn't see the traffic sign that said 60 kilometers per hour, officer. Same thing.
You need to know in advance to make your choices. And then the third thing, not to make it not the iron fist. This is what keeps it from punishment. You need to follow through. That's the firm part. Yeah. Actually doing it.
Follow through.
If you said that you're going to take away their plate if they get down from the table, you got to take away the plate. If you got to do it. But then it's your attitude. It's the friendly way that you do it.
Yeah.
Just
matter of fact.
We don't have to say, well, fine, but don't come to me if you're hungry later. It's we always want to add the little dig as if they aren't going to learn unless they're in some kind of pain. And in fact, all that does is detract them from understanding that they're going down. They are left with choice, and they're going down a decision tree. If I choose this, I stay at the table and eat. If I get down, they take my plate away, and I don't have food. This isn't actually about dad. This is about me and my decisions.
Yeah.
So as parents, we have to be completely uninvested in which way they go. So when they do get down from the table, we can't be all like, ooh, they're not eating. It's like, oh, let them experiment. When they get hungry, maybe they'll make a different choice tomorrow.
Okay. Now, I have a question from my own personal experience.
Sure.
So as I mentioned before at the beginning of this broadcast, I certainly had those things where, sometimes you're desperate and you're like, fine, if you do this, I'll let you watch screen time for 10 minutes or 30
We've all
minutes.
done it.
We've all done that, and that's fine. But, now my daughter is always asking for that reward afterwards. So I guess my question is, how do I transition out of this to a point where, they are now, taking charge of responsibilities and understanding how to do things a little bit more, negotiate things better, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of family meetings. And
great, I love those. Good,
yeah,
I'm glad.
okay, and they have to be democratic family meetings.
Yeah,
a lot of people think like something really bad happened in the family, or people were really fighting last night, and no one was listening to mom and dad. They're going, everyone sit down.
Yeah.
Last week was terrible. These are the new rules. That's not a family meeting to me. A democratic family meeting is creating within your family social system a democratic town hall where people can be heard, have their voice, and have influence over the things that affect them.
Right.
And so weekly meetings do that, where you can talk about...
Weekly? Wow, that's a lot.
I do weekly.
Do you really? Wow.
Yeah. Now I did weekly meetings with my kids for so long that like a lot of the stuff on the agenda weren't necessarily problems. I don't even think you should start with problems.
When do you normally do them? Like at dinner time?
We did them Sunday nights.
Okay.
Often.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, and short and sweet. I've actually videotaped all my family. No, I haven't shared all of them, but I got my daughter to edit them down, and I posted them on my YouTube channel.
Wow.
So if you'd like, and some of them are like family meetings gone wrong. Kids storming away from the table and refusing to talk, and I didn't want to just show the glamour. It's like they're messy things to do. They're not little.
Oh, so they got upset. Did they?
Okay, yeah.
Did they?
You get some of the worst misbehavior in a family meeting,
okay.
but it doesn't mean they're not worth doing. Because actually, when I told you I had my daughter come to the conference, I had my kids present with me on family meetings, and at every single taping of these YouTube things, my kids would say like, "We don't like them. We don't like them." And as adults, they're like, "Well, nobody likes a meeting, but how would we have lived without it?" And as soon as my kids moved out of the house and into dorms and residences and shared housing with friends at university, the first thing they did was to sit everyone down and have a meeting to say who's going to take out the garbage and who's responsible for the dishes in the sink, and are we going to share peanut butter, or is everyone going to have their own cupboard? And they were perfectly prepared with all those life skills because of what we did in the family. So I think you do them weekly, and that's where you could say to your kids, hey, you know what? I think that we could do a better job of X, Y, and Z. And you can go back and revisit anything, any rule, any plan, It's an iterative process. We did chores differently every year because my kids were at different stages of their life. We did them all we'd all do it together and turn on music. Then we did teams. Then it was like, you need to do it before you get car ride privileges on the weekend. It just changed as they grow. It doesn't matter. This is the forum to change the rules.
Okay. Now we a few of the comments. Someone said fruit is an issue. Breakfasts are sweet in Europe. One thing I'll just say that quickly is that I don't mind so much having fruit or some sugar in the morning for the rest of the day. It's just at nighttime. I wouldn't give it to them. So they come back from a party and then they want to have a candy at 8:00 at night. It's like, no, you can't have a candy at night. I want to give this sugar rush. There's one last question because I think we're gonna have to go soon. Sure. But we already talked about this. But any tips for a digital diet?
Yes. So I want to point to the good.
Diets don't work. You want to create something sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. So true. It's lifestyle. I absolutely agree.
Lifestyle, yeah.
You know what? I would recommend for parents to go to commonsensemedia.org.
Yeah, I love that.
They have so many resources for parents and children. And you do it again. This is part of cooperation. We want children to be part of the process. So it's not you coming up with a media plan and imposing it on them. It's like, hey, we need to create what's going to work for us and our family. Let's go to this third-party resource, which kids love. They don't like you to be the authority.
Yeah.
It's like
the
dentist is more likely to get your kids to brush your teeth than you are. It's like the dentist said, not me. So go to the third-party resource. And they've got places to organize media plans. They've got videos on how parents should supervise so that kids don't feel like their parents are snooping. So if you do it as a joint project with the common end goal of that, yes, you too want to honor that they like tech. We just want to make sure that it is adding to our lives and enriching our lives, not the other way around. Let's go figure out how to do that successfully using resources that have already been developed by the experts. So that's what I would do. Take it as a joint project.
I love that site too. I use it for looking at movies to see which movies are appropriate, see what the range is. I mean, within a range, I'm willing to let the kids watch certain movies, and it's also a good tool I use with my wife because she's like, oh, it's too violent, so let's take a look at this one. But I see some parents take their 10-year-olds to see Suicide Squad. It's like, whoa, what the heck? But the Common Sense Media gives you a good range of what kids say, what parents say. And you can see what the stuff is making it. Is it violence? Is it sex? Is it consumerism? What exactly is it? So I love that stuff.
You do, and they're just in the world of gaming. There's many parents that will look at a girl's game and they'll say, look, it's got little unicorns and they have little houses and it's so cute. And the entire thing is based on monetary return and getting people to spend money and buy purchases and superficial values. And I think they're horrible. It looks cute.
Even in books. There was a book actually that my daughter had, and it was like this cute little, Tina's little party, blah, blah. And then I just quickly scanned, and my wife's like, Bobby, I don't think this book is really good. Like, she is so petty and so conniving and so bad. And I started reading, like, oh my God. And then we hid the book. There's no way we want to read this. It was trash, right?
But then there's parents who look at some graphical elements in some of the other video games, and they think they're horrible because they're these medieval knights and whatever. And it turns out there's all kinds of team play, cooperation, building a better world. You can't take it at first flush. I think you need to do your research, and I just think Common Sense Media has already done a lot of that for us. So let's send parents their way.
I love that. Okay, so on commonsensemedia.org, as Mark was asking for the address. Yeah. We are now at the end, guys. I thank you all for coming. I thank Allison for making the time to come here to do this. So great. You can watch her on television. She's very, very nice. She's a good morale booster. So I'm gonna
next time you're feeling low.
We need to do a weekly coffee chat, about this stuff. So where can people find you?
So my best place is my website, AllisonShaffer.com, because it has all my media social media icons. You can just click through there. Perfect. And of course I do have that YouTube channel, so lots of videos are up on my YouTube channel.
Perfect. And if you want to see my content, again, I do the live streams every day, Monday to Friday, around 8:30, 8:45 a.m. in the morning for breakfast. And I'm going to try to get more guests. If you have guests, let me know that they're experts in the field. Let me know, and you can DM me or you can comment below. Continue to ask questions. We'll have access to this feed. We'll continue to answer questions. If you have the courage and the joy to actually ask a question, by all means ask more questions. And you can also check my links if you want more information in terms of how to be a better speaker, how to work in your personal brand, how to be a better networker and build your thought leadership brand.
Oh, can I just, in closing, I know you've got an international audience, but if there are anyone here in Toronto, I actually have a full weekend workshop coming up in October. You can get information on my website. So if you want to get your whole parenting program done in one weekend, October.
Good. I have lots of people from Toronto, so that's good, and you'll check that out. All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a wonderful day, and have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bobby. Breakfast with Bobby.
I know.
Breakfast with Bobby.
That's what it should be, right?
That's your brand.
So it's going to take, there's a bit of a delay. Yeah. So it delays for 5-10 seconds. Yeah. So I'll just shut it off at that point. But otherwise, that was really good.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, good. I'm so glad we got questions.
Yeah, lots of questions. Okay,
that's great.
We're going to turn this off and...